The world is full of places with names that would have most of us struggling to stifle laughter. For instance, the UK is home to the childishly funny likes of Netherthong and Lower Swell. Sometimes the reasons why places end up with names that leave their residents red-faced are just as strange as the names themselves.
Number 10. Up until 1950, this town in the southwest of New Mexico went by the name of Hot Springs, which made sense because it was mainly known for its spas made out of natural hot springs. These made it a fairly popular place for people from out of town to visit, but apparently not popular enough for those running the town, who came up with a bold idea to boost its tourist trade. One of the most successful shows on US radio in the early 1950s was called Truth or Consequences, and it was decided to rename the town after it. This decision was made after a referendum, which proves again that direct democracy is a bad thing, and it led to the radio show visiting town for a broadcast not long after the big renaming, on April Fool's Day. That was not the end of it though, as the host of the show Ralph Edwards went on to make a trip to the town every single year after that until he died. Furthermore, it even managed to feature in an episode of Doctor Who called The Zygon Invasion, so maybe they were right to do it after all. Number 9. Frog Eye can be found on the banks of the Tallapoosa River, and there are a number of different tales that are told about where its name comes from. It might seem like something the residents came up with when they were drunk, but a local woman called Michelle Fortson has studied the history of the area and she believes that it actually happened during the Prohibition era. The story goes that its saloon sold alcohol illegally under the counter during this period and that it had to find a way of preventing this from being found out by the state police. So the saloon owner put a ceramic frog statue in its window and used this as a secret signal to local drinkers. If the frog had both of its eyes open, it was safe to ask for alcohol, whereas if one eye was shut, it meant the police were in the bar and they should stick to ordering soft drinks.
Number 8. There is a good reason why this little spot in Missouri ended up with such an unfortunate name, but thankfully it has nothing to do with wedgies. The story goes that sometime in the early part of the 20th century the town was home to a watermelon farmer. One day, when the mailman was delivering to this farm, he asked the farmer if he would put aside one of the watermelons for him to collect when he had finished delivering the rest of the mail. According to the local legend, the farmer said that he would, but then opted to sell the watermelon to another customer who had paid him 50 cents over what the mailman had offered. Annoyed at being robbed of his fruit, the mailman called the farmer a tightwad and continued to do so every day after that until the name stuck. Up until that point, the town, which has just 69 people living in it, was called Edgewood. These days, the small population seems happy to embrace the name, and that is understandable when you think it could just as easily have ended up being called Uomea Watermelon, Missouri. Number 7. Doubtful Sound is a fjord that can be found in southwestern New Zealand, and at 421 meters it is the single deepest fjord on its South Island. Part of the curious name was given to it by the British naval explorer Captain James Cook after he first set eyes on it upon arriving at the island back in 1770. Viewing the mysterious fjord shrouded in fog from his ship, he started to doubt that he could steer the vessel successfully in and out of the inlet, thinking it would be too tight a squeeze. That led him to christen it Doubtful Harbor. What has been lost to history is why it ended up changing from Doubtful Harbor to Doubtful Sound, although it is known that it was whalers who came up with the revised version, several decades after Cook had visited. Perhaps they were trying to convince themselves that they could not actually hear cries from the whales they were killing. The fjord may be a doubtful sound, but it is also a glorious sight, with its stunning natural beauty making it a beloved tourist attraction today.
Number 6. This sounds like the name of a French sitcom featuring too much slapstick, but it is actually a town in Quebec, Canada. It is not far from the US border, but its weird name makes it sound like it belongs to a different world entirely. This owes its origins to several sources, with the Louis bit believed to be the name of one of the men who founded the town, but the reason for the ha-ha part is more unusual. It was not stuck on the end of the name because everyone laughed at poor old Louis, but because of a lake situated just outside the town. Haha is an old-fashioned French word that means a block of some kind that brings the route to an end. Lake Temiscouata does just that for the town, as the start of the lake marks the limits of it, and thus the ha-ha part of the name probably refers to that.